over, and he needs to leave the house.
I have proof that I pay the rent in this house, so I'm not leaving.
No más, no más, no más.
That is a grown man on a soundstage announcing on live television that he will not leave a house because he is paying the rent. The house is in Colombia. The woman whose house it is sitting in a different country on a video screen watching him refuse to vacate. The cast of 90 Day Fiancé, professional antagonists, men who have themselves been dragged on the same stage, is audibly begging him on camera on a Sunday to please just go home. That is Mike Berk. And this is the story of how one Colombian mother of two broke the single rule that keeps this entire franchise operational.
Opened up so many opportunities for you. I could have helped you learn English to get better jobs in New York.
Oh, my man. Bow out with grace. Come on now, Mike.
Yo nunca me quiero ir a vivir a Nueva York.
Mike is a 34-year-old supermarket worker from New York. He lives at home. He describes himself variously as a shy person, a romantic person, and on a confessional that will haunt him, a gentleman. He has been looking for love. He has been looking specifically for love on a cam site, which is a completely legal place to pay for intimacy. It is not, however, a place where intimacy is what is being sold.
You went around your apartment and showed everything he bought for you. And then that last night, you couldn't even let him stay in the apartment that he pays for you? Damn.
$15,000 over 18 months sent by Mike to Ximena while she performed on camera, and he sat at home in the apartment he still shared with family members, watching. That is the prologue. The show does not start with their meeting. The show starts 2 years into a transactional relationship that Mike has retroactively decided was a courtship. The tell-all is not the drama. The tell-all is the audit.
That's a bombshell.
Yep, Ximena reveals she really met Mike on an adult webcam site, when he previously told us he met her on a dating app.
When I first got the notification that
Mike, early in the season, lies on camera about how they met. He says he found her on Tinder. He says she slid into his DMs. The producers, who are not as dumb as they look, already know this. Ximena knows this. The audience, who will find out in 4 episodes, does not yet know this. But the lie is the first crack. Because this is a man who was already paid for the relationship twice. Once to the cam site, once to the airline. And now he's paying for the lie a 3rd time with his on-camera credibility. This is a very expensive girlfriend. And Mike is, specifically, the kind of person who has been raised to believe that paying is the proof of love. Not showing up, not listening, not growing, paying. That is the only receipt he understands. That is the only gesture that counts in his personal economy, which makes him, tragically, the perfect 90 Day Fiancé casting.
so you weren't out on the street with you and your children.
Que porque tú me pagaste arriendo y me colaboraste, no quería decir que yo estaba en la calle tampoco.
Ximena, meanwhile, has 2 children from a previous partner. She lives in Cartagena. She is 31 years younger than the average 90 Day Fiancé stereotype would suggest, which is to say, she does not play the role the franchise was trying to assign her. She is not performing hysteria. She is not performing love. She is performing exhaustion, a specific exhaustion, the exhaustion of a working mother who has already figured out months before the cameras arrived that this is not going to end with a wedding.
She's not in love with you.
When Ximena sees that Mike is upset about her confession that she's not in love with him, she reassures him that she loves him a lot. but she just needs some time.
No te pongas así, por favor. Tú sabes que yo te quiero mucho, pero te necesito tiempo.
And there it is, delivered flatly, in English, which is her second language, in front of a studio audience, to the man she has been dating for 2 years. I am not in love with you. That is not a fight. That is not a manipulation. That is disclosure. And this, right here, is the moment the franchise breaks. Because in the entire history of 90 Day Fiancé, nobody has said that sentence cleanly, in public, with no equivocation, to a partner who is still on the premises.
You went around your apartment and showed everything he bought for you. And then that last night, you couldn't even let him stay in the apartment that he pays for you? Damn.
And then she returns the gifts, physically, in a box. This is the play that actually detonates the genre. Because the whole architecture of 90 Day Fiancé is that the foreign fiancé has a financial incentive to pretend. The entire dramatic engine of the franchise depends on the asymmetry. One party pays, the other party performs. The cameras capture the friction. Ximena doesn't play. She gives the money back. On camera, in Colombian pesos, converted. And the show does not know how to film that. There's no reaction shot for honesty. There's no B-roll for
His hotel room, Ximena told him that she never wanted to see him ever again. Now it's finally time for the season finale tell-all episode. It's been 6 months since Mike left Colombia for the second time.
Mike, at this point, is in Colombia. Mike is in Ximena's house. Ximena has broken up with him. Ximena has been on camera multiple times asking him to leave. And Mike, I want to be very clear about what Mike says on television. Announces to the camera crew that he is not leaving because he is paying the rent. This is a sentence that I want every landlord in America to hear. Because Mike does not understand, and this is the tragedy, that paying rent is not occupancy. Paying rent is a contract. Occupancy is an invocation. Ximena withdrew the invitation. Mike kept writing the check. The franchise, thinking it was documenting a breakup, was actually documenting a hostage situation with a lease agreement.
Here you go.
You are welcome.
Now, let's get into the cast reacting to Ximena using Mike for money.
We were able to work it out.
The tell-all. The cast, collectively, Gino, Jasmine, Angela, the veterans, openly, audibly, on camera, begged Mike to leave Ximena alone. And these are not sympathetic people. These are the villains of the franchise. When Angela Deem tells you to back off, you have lost the plot so thoroughly that the villains are trying to save you. Even Sean Robinson, the host, the professional de-escalator, the woman whose entire job is to keep these conversations moving, is visibly, palpably trying to get Mike to read the room. He does not read the room. The room reads him, collectively, aloud, and he does not hear it. Here is the pivot. Because the Reddit consensus on Ximena, and let me be honest about it, pivoted hard pro-Ximena by the tell-all. The dominant take is that she grew throughout the season, that she started as a gold digger caricature and ended as a hero. That read is charitable but soft. Because the truth is, Ximena did not grow. Ximena walked in knowing exactly what this show was, and she exited it refusing to play the role it tried to give her. That is not growth. That is a woman who understood the genre better than the producers did.
After the tell-all wraps, everyone goes their separate ways. And Mike FaceTimes Ximena. And she tells him that they're gonna get married and prove everyone wrong.
And then, in the single most telling moment of the entire tell-all, Mike announces on stage, unprompted, that they are back together. And Ximena, virtually, on the screen from Cartagena, immediately denies it, live, in real time, while he is still talking. That is not a couple. That is not a breakup. That is a man having a public hallucination about a woman who has explicitly and repeatedly told him he is not in a relationship. The reason nobody is correcting him is because nobody has ever seen a contestant this disconnected from the agreed-upon fiction of the show.
It was somebody that you had met on a previous dating site, and then you guys kept in touch?
About just the birthday thing.
After the tell-all, Mike gets dragged for his post-show Tinder profile, in which he lists himself as an entrepreneur and uses production stills from the show as his dating photos, which is, I want to say, the most Mike thing Mike has ever done. The show's function for Mike was to turn him into a romantic asset. The show's function for Ximena was to get it over with.
Bro, it's difficult for me to cry, but you're about to make me cry, I swear.
Yes. So
It's kind of crazy how, with all of the relationship issues that we've witnessed that have been caused by her over the season, the one thing he would want to.
And you can see this, by the way, in the confessional edits. Mike's confessionals get longer as the season progresses. He cries more. He explains more. He pitches more. Ximena's confessionals get shorter. By the tell-all, she is giving clean one-sentence answers. Different characters, different shows, same airtime.
Over now, if rumors are to be believed, they're both going to be on the next season of 90 Day Fiancé before the 90 days together. So if you want to keep up with the next stage of this saga when it's out, along with a whole load of other.
In 2023, she posted a cryptic photo with him. It may have been a reconciliation attempt. It was never confirmed. The fans lost their minds. I don't blame the fans. But I don't buy the reconciliation either, because Ximena, more than any contestant in the franchise's history, has demonstrated that she will do a thing on camera exactly once and then walk.
Really set her off. And they let him get away with a clear lie as well. Ximena said in Spanish, "This is stupid," and Mike clearly misunderstood her and called her stupid. He even tried to justify it to Ximena's sister by saying
She also mentioned at one point that Mike was threatening to take her to court. I want you to hold that image. A 34-year-old man in the state of New York in the year of our Lord is threatening to sue a Colombian mother of two for the money he voluntarily sent her while watching her perform on a campsite. That is the lawsuit nobody has ever won in the history of civil procedure. That is the lawsuit where the judge asks one question and then dismisses the case. That is not a real legal threat. That is a man using the language of legal threats the same way he used the language of romance, as a cover, as a posture, as the kind of authority he thinks he is supposed to perform. Mike has spent his whole on-camera arc trying to borrow the vocabulary of the men he thinks he should be. None of the vocabularies fit him. He is, with genuine sympathy, nobody's fiancé and nobody's plaintiff. And here is the second pivot. Because the thesis of 90 Day Fiancé, and frankly of most reality television, is that every participant has entered into a kind of pact with the format. The cameras will film your worst moments. You will, in exchange, get paid, get exposure, and get a storyline. The storyline is the contract. The storyline is what converts your humiliation into a career. And the unspoken rule is that both people in the relationship have to co-sign the storyline. Both have to pretend, at least for the duration of filming, that the love is real, the investment is mutual, the future is possible. That is kayfabe. That is what makes the show work. That is why every season ends with a wedding, even when, especially when, the wedding is catastrophic. The wedding is the host signature. The wedding is the pact. physically.
We'll get into that, plus what led to Ximena walking off the tell-all set twice.
What happened?
Shut up!
Ximena walked off the tell-all, mid-segment, through a door, virtually, because she was on video, which in practice meant she just ended the call. The cast kept going, the cameras kept rolling, the host kept hosting, but the co-signer was gone. And what you witnessed in that moment was the first time in 30 seasons of this show that a cast member exited the fiction itself while production was live. Not the relationship, the fiction. To be fair, because we always walk it back, Ximena did take Mike's money for months, for years. She was not a saint, and she was not pretending to be. The feminist hero reading some fans want to project onto her requires ignoring the actual power dynamic of how they met, which was she worked on a cam site, he was a paying customer, and at some point the relationship blurred into a parasocial long-distance thing that only existed because he kept writing checks. Ximena knew what she was doing when she took the money. She also knew what she was doing when she gave it back. The consistency is what makes her interesting. The consistency is also what makes her terrifying to the producers, because a contestant who is consistent cannot be edited. The whole art of reality television editing is making an inconsistent person look like a villain or a hero depending on the week. Ximena gave them one read, all season, with no pivot points, no betrayals, no contradictions. You cannot cut a betrayal into a performance that does not contain one. Ximena essentially gave the edit bay, and the second part of the mask hair is full of public discretion. That's the book, Writer. The franchise's editorial team tried to frame her return of gifts, and Mike wanted the money back. Ximena gave him the money back. And that act, more than any of her tearful confessionals, is what broke the show. Because the premise of 90 Day Fiancé, the core premise, is that foreign fiancés cannot afford to return the money. Ximena could, and did. And in doing so, she made the machinery visible. The Ximena episode is the only episode of 90 Day Fiancé that you can watch and come away thinking the franchise is embarrassed. Not because she ruined the show, because she showed what the show actually is. And what the show actually is, we can say this now, it is 2026. The franchise has run for over a decade, is a structured financial transaction in which the participants agreed to perform love in exchange for fees. And the cameras monetize the seams in the performance.
And Ximena, calling in from Colombia, gives a more detailed update on where exactly the relationship stands. But before we get to that, a quick message from today's sponsor, Raycon. Raycon have sent me these fantastic wireless earbuds.
Watch the final confessional. Ximena, alone in her own house, in her own language, is calmer than she has been at any point in the season. That is not the demeanor of somebody who lost. That is the demeanor of somebody who checked out. The show, meanwhile, is still running. The show is always still running. That is its primary structural feature and its primary structural flaw. Ximena declined the fee. Not because she was too proud, not because she was a hero, not because she had a deal to refuse, because the fee was, on examination, a contract she did not want to countersign. And the moment she realized that, she stopped pretending she had. If you made it this far, you either love me or you're looking for something to yell about in the comments. Either way, like, subscribe, and tell your sister.